will have 6 Twitter followers, and I'll be able to quit my job.
Dude.
All right, in 3.
We're trending. Oh my God, we're trending.
Turning in the wrong direction.
3, 2. And welcome to $2 Steak. I am your host, Aaron Varnum. Man, it has been nice every single week. It's been like that Johnny Cash song, one piece at a time. I've been able to add a little bit here and there to our setup. We've actually got like a legit setup this week. By episode 3, we have a mixer and 4 single microphones, so I don't have to like finagle stuff like we did these last few weeks. Guys, I'm excited about this. I'm joined by Tolbert, Big Mike, and Cookie. Guys, what's happening?
Yes, sir.
WrestleMania!
It is here.
So excited.
We're actually recording this at 11:36 in the morning on Sunday of WrestleMania weekend. So you guys know that we are up and at 'em early. Tolbert just rolled out of bed. His eyes are puffy. I'm not sure if it's because of the Sandman, not the ECW wrestler. I think it might be because of the Green Man.
A little bit.
A little bit. Tolbert's here. Cookie's hungover, and Mike has been watching wrestling for 24 hours straight. And I think Mike is more hyped than any of us about what's going to happen tonight on WrestleMania.
This is the first time I've been invested in WrestleMania.
Dude, I think like last year you were a little bit invested.
No,
you were like half-assed.
I had seen the pay-per-views, but I had not seen like every Raw and SmackDown for a year leading up to it.
I'm so proud of you, Mike.
He's got a full pump going on
Dude,
over here.
I'm
He's
raging.
so excited.
I know, like I'm a little bit like
Internally and externally.
This card is exciting, to be fair.
it's a good
It's
card.
a really
We've got a
good
good card of WrestleMania this year. Last night, Mike and I actually watched the Madison Square Garden Ring of Honor New Japan Professional Wrestling Supercard. Friday night, we both kind of, like Mike and I both kind of half-ass watched the Takeover, and we, like throughout the weekend, it's been like a steady drip of professional wrestling. The Takeover was very good. Last night, it was pretty good. There were some good matches and stuff. But I'm so tired of professional wrestling by the time that WrestleMania actually hits that, like, I am just ready to go out and go take a walk, like, refresh my mind. It is a marathon weekend of fandom.
Absolutely.
I think, Friday night I stayed up until 2 a.m. I watched The Dark Side of the Ring, that new Viceland TV show. They released the first episode. It's about the death of Bruiser Brody, who we'll talk about in the upcoming weeks on this show.
As soon as I get home from
Yeah, dude, it's a very good. I love documentaries. I come from a video production background, and the way that they present it is very fair. It's very fun, and not necessarily fun.
I was say, didn't the guy die?
Yeah, but like, when you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
So fun.
It's a very interesting. It's an interesting story, and I think in the coming weeks we'll kind of dive deep into that Puerto Rican style of professional wrestling. I've picked some matches from them, not necessarily in the week coming up, but in a few weeks. Needless to say, welcome to $2 Steak. That was a long time of us just ranting and raving. I think just me. I think
you did more of the talking.
I'm caffeinated right now, boys.
Is that what it is?
Not only am I caffeinated, I've also taken a Claritin D24, which has got some kind of pseudoephedrine in it.
The good stuff.
And I think I'm tweaked out of my mind.
That could. You have 8 hours to go to later on tonight.
God, I'm not gonna be able to.
It's actually 12 hours. We'll still be watching wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
Math is awesome.
Yeah. So here we go, boys. Let's talk about our first segment tonight. Tonight on the tie-up. This segment, it's kind of an open roundtable discussion. This week, I had a fun little idea, and it's called "Don't Try This at Home." And this is kind of a nostalgic look at stupid things that we have done because of professional wrestling over the years. There is a long list of things that I have done. Tolbert, I know you have done some things. Cookie, I know you have done some things. Yep. Mike, I did some things like I saw him powerbomb his baby the other day, and the baby tapped out, and it was just awkward. Like this was
tapped out to the powerbomb.
Yeah, the baby's tapping out.
Sometimes the baby just won't shut up.
Oh my! Oh my! That's the baby's music.
I am interested to hear Mike's stories because he didn't grow up watching wrestling, and he's a
mine,
big boy.
Knowing already what some of yours are, mine sucks, so I may not even share it.
Anyways, Tolbert, tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Oh man, so
Tolbert had a wild childhood apparently when it came to professional wrestling and his brother.
I was always watching wrestling from a very young age, and it was always because either my uncle had it on, or I had an older cousin as well. And so I'd be watching wrestling as a kid, and they would just like come up behind me and put me in a chin lock, or my uncle loved to try to put us in a figure four or something like that. So that's what sparked it. And I had a younger brother. We're only about 2 years apart, so similar in age, and had a lot of the same friends. But of course, we would watch wrestling, get super psyched, and just start welling on each other.
You have to act it out, man.
Yeah, of course. And we would act out the whole thing. We would do crowd noises, we'd do entrance music. Yeah, and we'd do the build-up, putting each other in locks, throwing little punches.
Did you refer to yourself as Tolbert or Chris?
Oh, I was always either Sting or The Undertaker.
Oh, okay.
No, we went full, I was always Sting or Undertaker.
It's cosplaying. It's cosplaying at its early age.
My brother was usually Tatanka.
Okay.
Or Eddie, he was a big Eddie
a Pembroke,
Guerrero
North
fan.
Carolina native.
Yeah, local boy.
Who had that like weird foot stomp around the ring.
Yeah, when he would do the skip around the ring.
Yeah.
My brother loved to do that. But it usually would start, we'd watch some wrestling, and my parents would go run errands. And as soon as the car left the driveway, we'd look at each other and then go straight into a lock. It's home. It's home. We'd even do the bell ring, be like ding ding. And we would always kind of grapple down the hallway, and it always led to my parents' bedroom because they had this big bed.
Boy.
And we'd go through a couple rounds. And this one particular time, I was the Undertaker. We'd go through a few spots, and I get my brother in the choke slam position, arm over the shoulder, everything, and I just lift him up as high as I can. At this time, I don't know, I was probably like 11, 12. I'd hit a growth spurt, so there was a size difference. My brother was very light at that time and small, much smaller than I was.
You didn't know your own power.
Yeah, exactly. I lifted him up and I slammed him right into my parents' bed.
Oh.
And it was like on that episode of Raw where Braun Strowman.
I know that reference.
Yeah.
But
Where
Big
the
Show,
ring
Big Show,
collapsed.
right?
Yeah, the ring
And
collapse,
the ring
right?
collapses. I put my brother right through my parents' bed where the cross,
You sent him
the
straight
cross
to hell.
beams just broke. And I was like, oh shit! Of course we're laughing, We're like, oh, that was awesome. And they're like, oh shit.
Holy shit! There was a holy shit chant from the kid.
So we tried to fix the bed, and we get it propped back up. And we're looking at it, we're bouncing on it. We're like, oh, she's gonna hold. We're good. We're good. And my parents come back, and we're carrying on, acting like nothing happened. And that night, getting ready for bed, and we're sitting there hanging out. I think Raw or Nitro was on probably as well.
Right.
And my dad is getting into bed after a long, hard day of work, raising two rambunctious sons. And he gets into bed, and we just hear him kind of relax, and then we hear this giant thud. And the bed just falls through as soon as he relaxes. And then my brother and I just looked at each other and hang our heads.
You knew what was going to happen.
He's to scream.
He's not mad. He's just disappointed.
Yeah, and we'd already been warned at that point not to power bomb or choke slam each other onto the bed.
It's definitely something. I know you're not really. They always say don't try this at home when you're doing it, but as a kid, you have to try it at home. I had a little cousin about 10 years ago. He was like 5 or 6 years old, and we would wrestle all the time. Every time he'd watch Rey Mysterio, he'd try to like do a head scissors or whatever, and I'm like, picking him up and carrying him. And the older he got, the less I could do because he's a heavy kid at that point. Like, he's a big boy. And, professional wrestling just inspires children to want to, act it out. I know it's not a good thing. Cookie, I'm sure you have done some stupid stuff over your years.
I have so many stories that I want to share, but I will narrow it down to one. Just one. Hopefully we'll do this segment again and I can share my other stories. But the first one I think is pretty funny. So I'm a huge Jeff Hardy fan.
No.
And I want to always imitate that Swanton. That's one of my dreams. And that dream came true for me when I was about 8 years old. I just finished watching, I think, the WrestleMania 16 where he jumps off the ladder and hits Bubba on the aisleway.
Right.
Yeah, 16 feet drop, whatever it was, I don't know. But, so my friend, who's a lot older than I am, he says, hey, we should do a tables match. And I was like, dude, I'm not going through a table. I'm not going to do that. I'm only 8.
Good reasoning. Yeah.
He
was like,
tables for
exactly. And he was like, okay, fine.
Dining room table.
Why don't we do a box match? So we set up boxes, and the boxes acted as our tables. So he had a square deck, and we used that as our ring, and we tried to imitate this match out. And what eventually happened was, just to fast forward the story just a little bit, I had the idea that I would do the Swanton Bomb. Now, I need to give you guys a little description about myself at the time. All of maybe 4'9".
Right.
Probably about 100 pounds or something like that, or 120. I don't know what it was.
Don't.
I was a big boy.
You were a thick boy.
I was thick with
We
two
were all
C's.
thick
Okay,
boys.
I was a big child.
None of us were tiny kids. I can tell you that.
So I tell him, look, I'll jump off this ladder, but you have to catch me off this ladder. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll do this.
Kid
so
logic.
we set this up. I punch him a couple times. He lays on the box. I climb atop this 10-foot ladder, get on the top, do the
Jeff Hardy, whatever that is,
whatever
the gang
this is,
sign, whatever that
the
is.
guns put them to my mouth, and I do the Swanton. Obviously, it's not as good as what Jeff Hardy does.
In your head, it is.
In my head, I look like a swan. Oh yeah, it's a beautiful swan dive off of it.
Black Swan.
In reality, it was the shittiest somersault you've ever seen. Like, just drop the right shoulder and just roll over it. And I land hard as I can on these boxes. Obviously, he moves out of the way and doesn't catch me. And I wake up in my bed. And that's what
You were concussed? You had a concussion?
I don't remember. I just don't remember.
Dude, that's the concussion.
It may have been a concussion.
Cookie,
I don't
you shouldn't
know.
be playing rugby anymore.
Honestly,
what are you doing?
I probably shouldn't. But that's why they say, do not try this at home.
We all have CTE, and now we know why. Cookie's first concussion was at age 8. So
doing a Swanton Bomb off of
Mike, did your friends ever try to get you to wrestle? Or like,
oh no, he was the big boy,
Yeah,
so they were
nobody
scared
wanted
of
to
him.
mess with me because I was just my two friends were way smaller than I was.
I believe you described somebody as with a pituitary gland problem last week. All right, so here's my story, and if you've got a weak stomach, I apologize for this story. I was a big professional wrestling fan. I have told you that in the past. I was also a church boy, and we would go on church field trips almost, you know? So we had youth group trips. I was also a part of the youth choir. And with the youth choir, we went on a tour of the East Coast. We went up and down the East Coast singing to people. I had a solo, boys. I actually could sing at one point in my life. This was before my voice changed, I think. We were in New York City. I was, It was a group of 4 guys in a hotel room in New York City. Of course, we're going to be like wrestling and stuff and playing around and everything. We were roughhousing. My mom was the nurse of the trip. She was in a separate room. When we started, roughhousing, I still wanted to keep going. There's always that one kid that's kind of like, I need to stop. It's time for me to go to bed. You guys are being a little bit too rough. So the boy, we're done. He goes to take a dump.
Okay.
This
0 to
kid,
100.
yeah. This kid it goes to take a dump, and me being happy-go-lucky, funny boy, I kick the door open while he's taking a dump and throw something at him because I'm like, oh my God, he threw a can. I threw an empty can of soda pop because I think I was probably like jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Oh, definitely.
So the kid comes out of the bathroom pissed. He's that kid that's going to take it too far. You know what I mean?
Oh, Lord.
The kid has a piece of toilet paper with feces on it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is disgusting. What's happening?
Oh, no.
And he says, and I quote, if anybody freaking touches me or comes at me, you're getting shat. Or you're getting shit on your face. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay. Whatever, dude. Whatever. The kid turns around and I do the classic schoolyard bully flinch at him, right? I'm like within 5 feet of him. I didn't think that his wingspan was that long. I flinch at him, and then like this is where things get a little bit blurry because I saw red and brown apparently.
Oh no!
The kid wiped shit on my face.
Ay, ay, ay.
So as a 12-year-old with shit on your face, there's nothing you can't do when it comes to becoming Incredible Hulk strength. I grabbed him just like Jake the Snake Roberts does. Hand under the chin, fall backwards, and the most beautiful snap DDT you've ever seen in your life. Kid, knock the hell out.
CTE.
CTE,
Automatic.
cookie style.
Automatic.
This kid is knocked out in a hotel room in New York City, and the only person we can call is Barbara Varnum.
Your mother.
At 2 a.m, I'm trying, like at this point, like I'm like, how many times can you wash your face to get shit off of it? You know?
Was she more concerned about the child who was knocked out or the potential for hepatitis C on your face?
No, so mom didn't know that I had shit on my face until later. So we called my mom. We called her, and the very first thing she says is, Aaron, what did you do to this boy? I know that you did something. We're like, Eli just fell, and like somehow he fell and got knocked out, and we just,
Oh my God.
we don't know what's going. He just fell, It sounded like an abusive relationship at that point. Mom comes up, looks at him. He's definitely got a concussion. He's coming back, and he at that point, I don't think he remembered that he wiped feces on my face. So there you go, man. For the rest of the trip, I was shit faced, and
12-year-old style shit face.
12-year-old shit face, literally.
Who counted to 3?
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I think he probably counted to
Friends
300
Don't
like
DDT
sheep
your
at that
friends.
point. Don't DDT children. That's it for the tie-up.
Well, I will say, hold on. This stuff isn't exclusive to children.
No, and you know what, man? Like when people, you're doing it as a child, and you're doing it. You're not supposed to try it at home. People think that you watch this, they think it's fake. They think they're a badass.
But the one time I saw 2 grown adults at a rugby match.
Oh God! I forgot
God.
about that. Oh, this was at the Sevens tournament 2 years ago.
This is on video.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's still on video
it's
somewhere.
somewhere.
It's in the internet.
I have the link.
So
During the ladies' final.
two grown adults during a ladies' championship final come out of an all-you-can-drink beer tent.
Oh no.
This was. Were you not there 2 years
I don't
ago?
think I was here.
And this again, full camera view. And these 2 adults start wrestling in the background of a women's championship rugby match.
So what happened was I came out of the beer tent.
So you were involved.
There was
it
a
was
trash.
these 2 idiots.
Oh, you.
There was a trash can. There was a classic like aluminum metal trash can, sitting right there. How could you not? How could you not? So
It's the women's final of the elite section of our Sevens tournament.
And we were being respectful. We were well off the sideline,
But well in view of the camera.
And Aaron's
but
over here
well-
taking bumps.
Well, he didn't know he was about to. He was standing, so I have said trash can right over the back of his shoulder.
I turn around
and being
take a full on
being the professional as he is, though, he just rolls with it, and
Nice.
we proceed to. I think I gave him a pretty all right looking stunner.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And I made you hook the leg
Yeah,
on the
hook
on
the
the
leg.
pin
And
attempt.
you sold it. Okay.
We
very
had
nice.
about a 4-minute professional wrestling match, and we were both gassed. Like we had just had like
We probably played
Like a
7
60
beers.
minute.
Yeah, you were gassed like you had 7 beers.
We were also drunk.
High gravity beers.
But we didn't know we were being filmed until
I had to like edit all of those videos, and then I'm looking in the background. I'm like,
Tolbert.
holy shit, there's our match right here. So I like zoom in on the match, and I'm like, oh, that's a good bump right
and
there.
you guys were both 30 years old. at
Yeah,
least?
yeah. So alcohol and professional wrestling don't mix. No.
Speaking of that,
Speaking of alcohol and professional wrestling, I have seen some people try to jump barriers at professional wrestling matches. The very first professional wrestling match I ever filmed, I was with David, and we're at this little town called Roseboro, North Carolina. We're at this match, and I'm filming it. I kind of didn't know how into it these rednecks get. And when you put a couple beers in it, you think that you're freaking, Chris Jericho.
Absolutely.
or Brock Lesnar. You think that you know better than the professional wrestlers in the ring. We're standing there, David's walking around getting heat from the audience. Getting heat means talking shit to the audience, trying to get them to react and trying to get them into the matchup, trying to get them to boo him. He's a bad guy at the time. David is talking very sternly to this one guy. This one guy's like, "Oh no, hell no, man! I can beat your ass, man." David's in the middle of the ring and he looks at him and he says, "Well, why don't you, man? Why don't you come on in here and try to do it?" The guy storms the ring, and I have never seen a field goal kick as beautiful as I have seen this guy getting punted in the face by David. This guy is done after that. His friends are like, "Man, we didn't think he was going to do that. We apologize. We're sorry that he did that." The guy's holding a bloody nose.
Knock this block off.
Knock his block off. That is a very old school style, old school thinking of professional wrestling in the 80s. Once you cross that barrier, once you cross that thing, you are now open game to getting some Southern justice. You know what I mean? Last night, we're watching the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Yes. Yep.
And it brought a twinkle to my eye. This guy storms the ring during Bret Hart's Hall of Fame acceptance speech. It's all over the news this morning. It's a little, you don't want to give these assholes any more publicity that they're getting. But I think the best part of it is, as soon as he hits the ring, 30 people storm the ring.
Oh, yeah.
You're storming the ring with people that are all in shape.
Yes.
All huge human beings. These are superheroes that you're storming the ring for. One, the most respected man in professional wrestling, Bret Hart. Everybody loves this guy. You're going to get your ass kicked. And he got his ass kicked. Tell me about what you saw, Mike, because Mike watched it for 45 minutes, the replay.
I was just really, really excited when we kind of got it going. And you're zooming in, trying to figure out who got in there and who's doing what.
It's like the Zapruder film of who shot JFK.
Because if you watch the WWE tape, they go straight to black.
Yeah.
And then they go straight to the fans. So you're reading it online and stuff, and people first thought, they're like, holy shit, Bret Hart's brother died in a WWE ring, and what they do, they went straight to black. So that's why I think WWE shot back to the fans real fast. But then you're going on Instagram, Twitter, and trying to find all the fan videos, and you see Ronda Rousey's husband jump in there. You see Shane McMahon, a billionaire, get in there. All these New Day comes right away, pulls Bret Hart out of it, and then it's fucking bedlam, and you have probably 15 guys trying to just beat this guy's ass. And I read a good thing. It was one group of guys is checking on Bret. Yep. Another group of guys is trying to beat the shit out of the guy who did it. And the third group of guys is trying not to let the second group murder him.
It's a brotherhood. People don't understand how closely knit these people are.
And that's where it's a locker room mentality. And that's how you know that this is a sport. It might be sports entertainment or whatever, but I would be hard pressed if you go into a certain locker room and you see it on the sideline sometimes in a football game. More offensive linemen to the running back or offensive linemen to their quarterback, where if somebody's fucking with them, you're going down. Yeah. And but that's like really secluded to tiny little groups. Whereas this was one man and 40 people immediately just like, fuck this, let's go. Like, and because that guy got in the ring and literally at the same time he's getting in the ring, 3 wrestlers are getting in the ring.
I just don't understand why he did it in the first place.
Well, and you know what? You're probably never going to understand.
There's no point in speculating.
There's people that want attention, one, and we're giving it to them, granted. Yeah. 2, there's also insane people out there, and when you put 2 and 2 together, they're loose cannons. You just don't know what's going to happen.
And that's why I just don't want to. Yeah, that's why you don't want to speak to why or their thing. I just wanted to talk about how awesome that brotherhood and of professional wrestling. Guys of all ages, guys of all decades are out there just beating the shit out of some asshole, and it was awesome to see that. It sucked to see a cancer survivor, a stroke survivor, and one of the best wrestlers of all time, like
have his moment ruined.
like moment ruined, and he's
been through a lot in his career.
Yeah, like that guy. So just to see that moment ruined sucks, but just to see everybody come around and like no, you don't do that to one of ours. And can we give props to
props to one of my favorite people in the entire world.
So as they're walking, they're ushering this asshole out. He's still kind of pushing up a fight. The immediate beatdown is taking place. They're escorting him out. And the guy casually falls into Dash Wilder's right hook.
Which is a phenomenal
right hook. Landed so fucking clean, and you see this asshole's knees buckle. He got knocked the fuck out, and it was awesome.
So I make no, like bones about it. The Revival are 2 of my favorite professional wrestling wrestlers ever. Because I know them as human beings. I know both of them very well. They are good people. And it's funny because I know that they are the 2 biggest Hart Foundation Bret Hart fans you will ever see. And you see Dash Wilder with a Bret Hart jacket on in the crowd during this ceremony. He is there specifically to see the tag team get their recognition. And to have that happen on his watch, that old school mentality kicks in where he's had to protect himself in the ring multiple times. And he wanted to punish this dude. A beautiful right hook to the face of this guy. This guy drops like a sack of potatoes. And it was just a beauty in motion. Yeah.
Once again, CTE.
CTE.
Is that concussion worth it?
He deserved it. He
deserved it.
We've been trolling trying to find his mugshot because I want to see that fucking black eye.
Like, you know it's there.
Oh, it's there. It's there. It was beautiful.
I watched the clip about, I don't know, 30 times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. It's just unstoppable.
The greatest part was it's like a walk-off home run. Yeah. He does the bat flip almost. He flips the bat and just walks off like nothing happened, punches him in the face, and just goes back to his seat.
Knocks the guy out, and he's like, "He's all yours, boys."
All right, have at it. I've never seen more people get behind one professional wrestler on Twitter, be it Kofi Kingston right now. Dash Wilder is Twitter's hero on WrestleMania weekend.
Oh yeah.
So, here we go, folks. The very first matchup of tonight. I know we went a little long tonight. I think that it's worth it. We're all jacked up. It's in the morning. We usually tape this at nighttime.
But they're shorter matches.
They're shorter matches. They are very short matches. Our first matchup of the evening, I assigned to the Greenhorn, Big Mike. We have Rey Mysterio against Jushin, Thunder Liger. Big Mike, what kind of style are we seeing in this matchup?
Right, so it's luchador meets Japanese, right?
Correct.
So, and I'm a Greenhorn, but I knew a little bit of kind of the situation in 1996 for this match. Since 96, NWO's like starting to get real huge. That's like WCW's like amazing thing that they pulled off. And so you got these 2 kind of mid-card cruiserweights who are just out there and their job is to put on a good show. So you have 21-year-old Rey Mysterio, right? Young, definitely, I mean, he's always little, but he's not like, he's even littler than he is now. Like, now he's kind of jacked up a little bit. He's like this tiny little guy versus Jushin Thunder Liger, who's a little bit older. They never said how old he was, but they kept harping that Rey Mysterio was 21 years old.
Well, they say that he's also, at that point in 1996, he was a 13-year veteran.
Yeah.
So,
and he just had a brain tumor removed.
Yeah.
In 96 at some point. So, I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of cool. Like, you're watching it and you're like, oh, Rey Mysterio looks like a Power Ranger. Like, this is immediately where my head goes. He looks like a Power Ranger. And the guy he's fighting looks like a Power Ranger enemy. So this is kind of cool. It's like, I was like, this is fun. And so it's their first head-to-head match, so it's billed as a pretty big deal. It starts out, and Thunder Liger's just kind of tossing Rey around. And, you know, Rey's not a big man, and he's just kind of...
Thunder's beefy, too.
Getting work. Yeah, he's thick. And they made mention of it a couple of times about how he bulked up, and they were trying to like have the one guy nail down how much weight he put on there. He's like, well, I'm not going to say anything because he must be kind of a big guy too. But
old Dusty on commentary,
dude, I got a comment about Dusty Rhodes. He provides some very good insight.
He does.
But I can't get past that Southern drawl lisp thing he's got going on.
Dusty's amazing. As a kid,
grew up on his voice.
I grew up on his voice. It sucks because I never got to watch like a lot of his matches in his prime years.
Did he bite the tip of his tongue off? Like,
I don't know, man. I think, maybe they didn't have speech development classes in elementary school.
So I definitely enjoyed the Dusty Rhodes commentary. He makes a sex reference during the match.
Sure he did.
And I know what Dusty Rhodes looks like. Don't know what he looks like in '96, but I know what he looked like before he passed. And I can't imagine that guy having sex. But
he had a lot of them. Man.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So, but the match is good. It's paced well. I'm kind of entertained. Rey is getting worked kind of bit. But halfway through, Rey's not got much offense in. So you're kind of seeing the way it's going to go. Kind of vet beating up on the younger guy. Rey hits a standing backflip, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, he did.
Off the top rope at 7.5 minutes in. It was awesome.
He was very quick. For 21 years of age.
Yeah,
you could tell that he was going to have a very big career.
But to be 7.5 minutes into a wrestling match, and I don't know, just to be able to go from the ground backflip, I was like, damn. All right, and it's like they do it a lot nowadays,
right?
But I don't know, I hadn't seen any.
It was something different
in the
back
classic wrestling that I've been watching.
And Liger's throwing him around.
Dude,
man.
yeah, he's tossing him. He's beating him up.
At one point, he lifts him, he drops him, and he's probably 8 feet in the air, and he drops him straight to the canvas.
Yeah, and then they're out of the ring. They're out of the ring. He does like was it a power bomb or something like that? And he bounces Rey's head off the fucking ring. I was like, dude, I get it. You're in a mask.
CTE, boys.
You have. He's got gold over his eyes. So like I don't know how he can see anyway. So like I'll give it to him, but like poor Rey.
This podcast is brought to you by CT.
I know. I
CT
think
awareness.
I have it too, so.
It was a great match, though. It really brought me back. I pulled up your link. It brought me back to that. That was like prime viewing days for my brother.
Dude, me too, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? I loved it. The main event scene in WCW at the time, you would never see something like that.
Yeah.
You would see punch, kick, hold. That was kind of the WCW main event scene back then. So when you would have these refreshing kind of asides to kind of keep the show rolling with these flips, these moves that you're seeing, it definitely was a refreshing thing, and it kept you glued to their product.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Even the crowd was kind of, they weren't like roaring, but they were kind of into it.
They were respectful.
Yeah, it was because it was I made notes, like it was just a good match. The highlight, I thought, 9 minutes in, Ray, is it a springboard? Is that
Springboard.
What goes for a springboard and just eats the biggest fucking drop kick ever.
It was great,
dude. I thought, oh my god,
that's how physics works.
Yeah. Big man meets little man, and like I don't know. It was pretty awesome. We get a good moonsault at about 11.5 in. Long story short, Liger wins. Kind of beat up on the young guy, and I made notes. I thought it was just a solid match. It was entertaining from start to finish. It was paced well. I would put the first match, episode 1, hated it. Second match, episode 2, loved it. This was a good match. I was entertained. It's not something I'm going to write home about,
right.
But I thought if somebody's trying to get into professional wrestling, it is a good match to watch because you're not getting massive highs, but you're not getting massive lows. It was just
it's consistent.
It was good, steady 12 minutes.
Right, and I think that what we've shown so far to you, and I'm trying to give you kind of the whole gamut of what's going on in professional wrestling during the time that we grew up watching it. it's a matchup that shows a different style. Japanese professional wrestling and Mexican professional wrestling, both different styles, a little more high flying. Kids loved it, dude. Stuff like that is kind of what got me into professional wrestling.
Prime Power Ranger time.
Right.
Like Power Rangers were huge in the 90s, and that's what I thought it was.
Good.
Fair enough.
Liger looks like one of the villains from Godzilla, like the giant black guys.
Yeah, because he's got like three-pronged head and the gold bug eyes.
Let's talk about that. His outfit, phenomenal.
He wore it well. He was thick and he wore it well.
He still wears it.
And that
he still has
beautiful
matches.
head of hair.
Was that his? I thought it was a wig.
I think it is a wig. I think it's almost kind of like throwing you off the scent of what he looks like under it.
So I didn't mention this while I was giving the review, but I like the luchador mask kind of style.
Yeah,
because it puts you into the character a little bit more.
Right. It's less character, less. It's more character, less human being.
Yeah, and so kind of get into it because again, like the whole time I'm like, this guy's a Power Ranger, and it's like, well, no, he's a professional wrestler. Like, but I don't know. I thought that was really cool, and I don't know. I just really
it was great at that time because you said the NWO was starting to heat up and all that, or getting there. And they would have that stuff going on, and the big guys come out and all that, all your superstars. But then they throw in some of these matches as well, and you had like Liger, Mysterio, Ultimo Dragon. You had all kinds of people.
Extremely unique for the time.
Yeah,
because WWE was not doing it at the time.
Do this, do that, and then throw in that style. It was great.
Oh yeah.
Like we loved it, and that would get us hyped up and wrestling on the floor. My brother
doing
tried to do
on your brother.
Hurricane Rana on me or something like that.
Did it ever work?
No.
All right, folks, for the second matchup of the evening, Cookie, I've been giving you Japanese professional wrestling for the last 2 weeks, and that's kind of like what I have, I've kind of envisioned that I was going to give you more of an international flair, and I think I want to show you different styles of professional wrestling. I kind of want to introduce you to more styles as well.
Yes.
So this week, we took a little step back from the Japanese professional wrestling, and I gave you Vic Faulkner versus Mick McMichael. These guys are British professional wrestlers.
I wish I could have watched this with Cookie the first time when you pulled it up.
I wish you guys were there with me because it's slapstick wrestling, people. That's what it is. It's the Three Stooges of wrestling is what this match embodied. 7 rounds of just going back and forth, just slapstick humor, just different ways to finagle a pin or, to get the crowd into it, get them laughing. This was all about having fun. They were smiling the entire time.
Was it good wrestling?
I think it was good chain wrestling.
Chain wrestling.
I was very surprised at the chain wrestling at first.
So in World of Sport, the professional wrestling style that this British match came from, it's a chain-based wrestling style. People have counters for every hold that you see in these matches, which is very neat.
It's more wrestling.
It is more wrestling. It's kind of like a hybrid collegiate style.
Yeah, it takes a finesse and some skill and definitely some timing. And I thought the wrestling was great. Just be like, oh no, got you that. Oh,
I thought I had you this time. No, let me do this. Let me do it this way. A lot of
it's goofy, but like when they pulled the moves, it was like, oh wow, that was.
What was very interesting is that Vic Faulkner was he had I'm sorry, Mick McMichael had Vic Faulkner in a wrist lock. He does, I think, 6 rolls around him, just rolling around, gets out of it, does a kip up, and is still in the wrist lock by the end of it. Eventually gets out of it, and then Mick McMichael tries to do a kip up himself and just fails miserably.
So funny.
But then the referee did one, didn't he?
And I thought that was the funniest thing. First off, we have to address this. The fact that I think Vic Faulkner crossbodies the ref and Mick McMichael goes for the finish.
Yeah. So the match, you can tell it's not a blood feud. It's not anything like that. It's not like the Southern style of wrestling. It's very British.
It looks like 2 pub owners trying to entertain some kids outside
super,
of the pub.
It was super entertaining.
Come on.
Tolbert and I were Tolbert and I were walking around the Azalea Festival yesterday, and we saw this vaudevillian like juggler out there trying to get like in humor. The base of humor is slapstick. Like everybody's gonna understand a slapstick joke, and when you see a professional wrestling match like this, that works on every level.
Yeah,
that guy we saw
makes you
yesterday
giggle.
worked on 0 levels.
Yeah, he was awful. He was awful.
So when you see something like that,
Yeah.
you don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be witty. It doesn't have to be anything. It's going to be funny.
It's going to be funny, and Vic Faulkner used a lot of techniques where he would just point in another direction and have Nick McMichael look in the opposite direction and just...
Which way did he go, George?
Yeah, which way did he go? Yeah, essentially, cat and mouse is what he was doing the entire time. Just, look over here. Oh, look over here. What's over here? And then pin him or something like that, you know?
I love during that matchup, you're watching it, and like, they'll step over through a hold. They know that if you step through here, it's going to reverse the pressure. You're doing all these like little things. It is very...
It's intricate.
The basis that goes behind that is very hard to like conceptualize.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very British. It's very posh and
The crowd's so
interesting.
polite. The crowd's so
I
proper.
can definitely see that.
I think. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say at one point there's a lock that they both get stuck
This is
into.
what I was gonna
This
say.
is the funniest thing. It looks like a figure four almost, and they both get their legs caught up in a lock.
Oh.
And,
Yeah, and the referee. They asked the referee to unlock. Them.
yeah, they had
and
to
it's
get
just
the referee to unlock.
And he's like,
There's no, not like that.
it's like.
One of my favorite
It's so
moments
funny.
is when they get each other in a hold, they're rolling around. And he's like, "Oh, I've got you pinned. Oh no, you've pinned me. Oh, I pinned you.
my shoulder.
We've
My
pinned
shoulder's
each
up.
other."
My shoulder's
And
down.
the ref is actually counting both of them because they've got each other in a leg lock pin.
Well, there was another moment where I don't know the names of the guys, but the one guy like is trying to pin the other, and he's laying down, so he starts counting him out, and then he's like, "Yeah, no, count him out," and then I believe he calls him a dumb Pollock.
Oh, I'm sure.
He does, and I was trying to figure out what he said.
Yeah,
That's what
I'm
he
pretty
said.
sure you dumb Pollock, and I'm a Pollock, so I laughed my ass off.
Hilarious.
So when you're watching something like this, Cookie, you can see that maybe it's not as influential on current generation professional wrestling. I would like to see one of the guys who was a big professional wrestler in the British style. His name's Billy Robinson. Is actually one of the NXT head trainers now.
Really?
So they're trying to bring a little bit of that style into America. Maybe not so much the slapstick style, but more of the chain wrestling style. And you'll start to see that a lot more in the future, I think. There's an appreciation for that I think needs to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you see a lot of that British style in the WWE, so I would love to see how that can get integrated. Probably in NXT first is probably where they'll try
Well, that
it.
NXT UK.
Yeah,
they have
NXT UK.
British
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. But what I want to debut this
Yes.
week
is
a new rating system.
Okay.
And I'm gonna rate it on cookies.
Oh,
Alright?
okay,
So
okay.
5 cookies is obviously how much you want to have. It's the optimal amount you want in your jar. All right.
Right.
So for this match this week, I'll give this match 3 cookies.
3 cookies.
3 cookies.
Solid.
Match. I think you should go watch it. It's very entertaining. And I'm gonna go backtrack a little bit. The Kobayashi fight, Kobayashi and Tiger Mask. I give that 4.5.
4.5.
4.5. Very solid. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Stan Hansen. I give that 4 stars.
Four cookies.
I apologize.
Come on, man! If you're gonna come out with a
Consistency.
rating system, you gotta have it.
Listen, everyone needs to understand where I'm coming from. Okay,
There's
I'm basing this
special
off of
cookies.
stars. All right. I like that. That was a good cleanup on my behalf. 4 cookies for the Stan Hansen
Now,
match.
what kind of cookies are we talking? Snickerdoodle? Are we talking chocolate chip?
We're
Listen,
talking 91
oatmeal?
milligram.
Edible cookies,
We're talking about a Metzger cookie.
brownies. Those are brownies. Shout out to Brownie, who's listened consistently to every single one of our
That's
episodes.
One of our 5 Twitter followers.
Yeah. Speaking of
Awesome.
which, follow us on Twitter because
You
we've
can
got
watch-
5 guys.
You can watch Mike troll steakhouse restaurants and professional wrestlers.
And try to weave his intricate Vic Faulkner style of counters here and there of trying to make a steak pun for everything.
I've countered a few very well. I just want to point out, and I've gotten a solid amount of clicks.
Who doesn't like a $2 steak? That's all I got to say.
Oh, man. We live next to a Family Dollar here downtown, and I saw some $2 steaks there the other day. Not what I want to say is what I want to eat. Just saying, boys.
I agree with that. No. Wait. You asked me what kind of cookie. I never answered.
Yeah. What kind of cookie? I'm sorry.
It's a sugar cookie.
Sugar cookie.
It goes with the name. It has to be a sugar cookie.
Sugar cookie it is.
Keebler, of course.
Yeah, Keebler's delicious.
Cruising the streets, looking for some action. My radio is blasting on my rock and roll station. They call us juvenile delinquents. They say we're out of control. Juvenile delinquents, 'cause we like to rock and we like to roll.
Speaking of edibles and cookies, things that you can eat.
Uh-oh.
We are now here for one of my favorite spots here in the $2 steak, the highest spot you can get, the high spot here with Chris Tolbert. This week, Chris, we changed up your style of professional wrestling as well. I took away kind of the fat boy wrestling of week 2, or the what did I even assign you week 1?
The little people.
I forgot that I assigned you that.
How do you forget that?
Oh, because I have watched so much professional wrestling just in the last couple days.
You should see his YouTube history. It's
It's awful. People probably think that I have like some kind of like weird thing. I don't know. So this week I assigned you a match from FMW, Frontier Martial Arts Professional Wrestling in Japan. I assigned you the original Sheik, Ed Farhat, against my boy, Terry Funk. Tell me, Chris, how did you like this matchup?
Oh, man. Well, I love this matchup. And that edible you gave me yesterday before the
I didn't
parade.
give you an edible. I have no access to them. Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to cut that out.
Go black. Go to black. Go black.
Sorry, Aaron.
So tell me, how did you like this matchup?
So, it was great. I knew a little bit about Terry Funk from your fanboy.
Just basically me
yeah,
talking about him all the time.
Yeah, and showing me clips. You know, I knew a little bit about him, but not much. I didn't know anything about the Sheik. It's not like the Sheik. You've probably seen the documentary.
Oh, the Iron Sheik.
The Iron Sheik. So different Sheik. And this is in Japan. It is an outdoor match. It looks like it's in a baseball stadium.
Probably.
Like
I mean, they do have a lot of baseball.
So it's a weird setup because it's outdoors. You don't see very many outdoor wrestling events. The crowd is huge. It's massive. You got people all the way from the nosebleeds, and I don't know what they paid for these tickets. I don't even know if they can see anything. It's ridiculous. And I don't know. It looks like it's an old communist arena or something. There's these big chain link fences that are covering, as a barricade, in front of the crowd, and then you have a bunch of people down on the floor. So. And they just kind of enter from out of nowhere. I don't even see a tunnel. You just see Terry Funk come out with his towel.
I think they're just in the
tape,
crowd.
And every Japanese match I've watched, there's minimal barriers. There's 100 photographers and just a crowd. It looks like an entrance to an MMA match when everyone's crowded around.
Yeah.
So Terry comes in. Makes his way, does some crowd work. He's yelling. He's waving his towel around.
Oh, I love you, Japan.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of love. People love Terry in Japan.
Which is funny. And this is not me being racist. The chants are Terry, Terry, Terry. Because it's all right. Maybe it wasn't lit, but it's how they pronounce his name. Yeah,
it's just an observation. So Terry makes his way to the ring, and there's the scaffolding around the outside. There's a frame, like a lighting frame you see on a big concert stage. Oh, yeah. Terry immediately climbs up the scaffolding above the ring.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, well, he's calling out Sheik, and he's like looking for
Where
him.
are you, Sheik?
Sheik! And he starts yelling. The crowd's getting really into it. And so 2 minutes in, you're like, "What the hell are you doing, Terry? Get down from there.
Get down. Come on, Grandpa."
You're gonna fall. What year was this match? 94?
94. So he was probably 70 at this point. No, I'm kidding. He's in his late 40s, early 50s.
Can I just say, Terry Funk is the Bill Murray of professional wrestling.
Oh.
He doesn't age.
Yeah.
Everybody loves him. And he just does quacky things.
I love him.
Before we get into this, people who don't know who Terry Funk is, he's been wrestling forever.
Since the 60s, yeah.
Forever.
Forever.
And he is known as the king of hardcore. This man bleeds almost every single match.
Well, nowadays he does.
Nowadays. He didn't.
It's because he's on blood thinners.
Yeah.
I was just about to say.
I took my Coumadin.
And just to preference this match, if people don't know what a hardcore wrestling match is, if you ever seen the movie The Wrestler,
Right.
with
Maybe
Mickey
not that
Rourke.
extreme, though.
Yeah,
Like,
but maybe not that extreme. But so you've probably seen The Wrestler. There's that scene where it's two old guys stapling each other and using barbed wire and digging stuff into their skin. That's what a hardcore match is. It's bloody. I've never really liked them. I wasn't a fan when I was a kid for some reason. As much blood and gore and violence that I watched, I still couldn't get into the hardcore stuff until I was older. But anyway, this Japanese style, this match is billed kind of as a hardcore match. So Terry comes out, he's climbing around the scaffolding. Sheik comes out of nowhere with a torch.
like an Indiana Jones torch.
Yeah,
it's not even
like a
like
torch, right?
a
In the daylight.
modern torch.
It's not dark.
In daylight, yes. And he's making his way through the crowd. Everyone's crowded around him. He's very old as well.
He's older.
At this point,
ancient.
I did this math before this. This was the 45th year of his career in 1994.
Of his career?
Of his career. He had been wrestling for 45 years up until this
He
point.
looks like a 70-year-old, yeah.
So he comes out and he's swinging this torch around, and Terry jumps down from
through the
scaffolding.
middle of the
I'm
audience.
worried about the people because there's no barrier.
There is no barrier, yeah.
So if you're a Japanese wrestling fan and you pay the ticket price to be up front ringside, you're gonna get your money's worth. You're up close and personal. I'm sure they make him sign a waiver of some sort.
Oh, I'm sure.
Jesus
you have to.
Christ.
Or maybe the understanding is once you walk through this, they might have signs up.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting your life in your own hands
Oh,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
here at this professional wrestling match.
He's old and he's round, and he's waving this torch, and Terry starts grabbing stuff and throwing it at him immediately. He hasn't even made it past the barricade to the ring yet. He's in the middle of the crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't even get close. He's like throwing chairs into the crowd.
Yeah. So
Once again,
So I think
I'm worried about the people at this point.
yeah, so he picks up some metal frame and just throws it at Sheik. At this point, it looks like two old men fighting over a parking spot.
And Azalea
downtown.
Festival weekend in
Azalea
Wilmington,
Festival
North
weekend.
Carolina.
It looks like,
Cheap plug.
Yeah. So they're just literally throwing stuff at each other. Sheik's waving this torch around, and Terry attacks Sheik with a chair as he makes his way towards the ring. Sheik starts bleeding from the forehead immediately. It wasn't the greatest chair shot. It was kind of weak.
It was a little weak.
It was a little weak. And then Terry proceeds to punch him in the spot, to make him bleed more. They finally make it to the ring. And this whole time they're fighting, there's people just crowded around them. I mean, inches away. And I made a note. I think Terry's favorite pastime when he's not wrestling, he loves to just throw chairs. That's his favorite pastime, is throwing chairs. He's got a hell of a throw. He can
Bobby Knight's the greatest of all time.
huck a chair across the arena. Anyway, they finally make it to the ring. Start throwing some locks, tumbling around. She pulls out a fork.
Is that what that
from
was?
somewhere?
It was a fork.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
after a few locks, they tumble around, deliver a few slaps. Sheik pulls out a fork, gets Terry in the corner of the ring. He's got him locked in the turnbuckle. Takes this fork and just starts jabbing his forehead with it.
Like, not even pull at all.
No,
It's
it's
like
it's
legit.
not fake. This is not fake. It is cringe. Like, I packed up the vaporizer, poured a beer, had the afternoon off. I was like, I want to watch this match, get really high, enjoy this, have a few laughs. no. And I was like, ugh.
I cringed. Yeah.
I was cringing every fork jab. I was like, oh my God. And
he's bleeding, not like traditionally
profusely.
style.
And then he rakes it across his forehead.
And he goes on for about a minute just stabbing Terry with his fork.
Terrible.
Right?
Stuffed pig. Bleeding like a stuffed pig.
So he manages to get out of the corner. Terry's just kind of stumbling around the ring, bleeding. The fans love it. They love the blood, dude. They love it.
It's a different culture.
It is, and they cheer every time, Sheik stabs him or they boo. So Terry's rolling around the ring, trying to get some momentum going, and Sheik breaks that by wrapping, looks like a piano wire.
Yeah.
Like a hitman
style,
choker
around his neck. And
my wife was appalled by that.
Yeah, Katie walked in halfway. My fiance.
You're watching a snuff film, honey. Come look at this man die.
And she walks in the living room like, "What the hell are you watching?" And like turns around and just leaves. Shaking her head. So piano wire around his neck. I don't know how he can even breathe.
No,
and the blood coming from his forehead is like pouring out now.
And just imagine, you'd probably see something like this downtown Azalea Festival weekend. Yeah. But imagine a 65-year-old man in tights, bleeding profusely with a piano wire wrapped around his neck, while an 80-year-old man waves a torch at him. You
didn't say one of my favorite things, and this is going.
I can't believe I forgot.
While the Sheik is bleeding on his forehead.
Right, so this is right at the beginning of the match, right? This is right. I can't believe I forgot this because it is. Some artwork
screenshot Travis Thornton did this week.
All right, so let's backtrack real quick. All right, so Terry goes into Sheik right at the beginning, makes him bleed, right? Yep. And he's leading him to get him into the ring to start the match. Terry grabs the Sheik by the head and starts biting his forehead. I can't believe it.
I just starts chewing on his forehead.
I wrote that down at the top of my notes. I can't believe I forgot it. But anyway, just biting his forehead. And that leads to the match starting, piano wire, all that. At this point, Terry's just kind of rolling around and Sheik's jabbing at him, punching him. At one point, throws him over the top rope. Terry's rolling around on the ground. At this point, Sheik grabs his torch and sets his boot on fire. But he does it from the ring. He's up on top of the ring. He's an old guy trying to reach down. He's waving this torch like, come here, I'm going to get you.
Chunks of the torch were falling off.
He's like, come here, I'm going to get you.
Come here, boy.
And sets his boot on fire, and then sets his knee pad on fire. And it proceeds to melt his spandex, Terry Funk's spandex, to the point where he's rolling around. When he stands up, you can see the melted burns on his leg, where the spandex have melted and just burned the shit out of him. And he's limping around outside. You can tell he's writhing in pain because that shit has
second-degree
burn. Rolls back into the ring. Starts delivering a few more blows, working the blood on Sheik's forehead. Kind of a slow-paced match, just
when you have the average age is 55.
Yeah, and a lot of cringes.
So here's the deal. The match is 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's not even it's all this happens within 8 minutes.
Yeah. And it ends with Terry Funk delivering a few blows to the Sheik, and he kind of just falls to his knees. I think he's just gassed. And it's the Japanese hardcore style. If you're down, they give you a 10 count.
Right.
Like in boxing kind of. And he's just on his knees and gets counted out because he can't get to his feet. And Terry wins the match. And not much wrestling has gone on during this whole match.
No.
It's just a bunch of guys pulling these cringy kind of gimmicks, if you will.
It's more assault and battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sabu is ringside the whole
Sabu,
time.
yeah. So a little bit of background on Ed Farhat, the Sheik. He had a promotion, Detroit Big Time Wrestling, in the 70s, 60s. He was this big bad villain. He did that was his gimmick. On Detroit television, he would be stabbing people in the head with a pencil. Oh, in 1970, people were bleeding like stuck pigs in Detroit. And you can kind of see Detroit style people. Mike has experienced Detroit before, right? Being from the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean,
They're rough and tumble people.
It's Midwest, yeah.
It's Midwest
it's
people.
A downtrodden city.
It's a
fighting to get back.
Even in the 70s, they're
probably
all
worse in the
factory
70s, honestly.
blue collar people.
Oh yeah.
And that's the kind of style. But his nephew ended up being Sabu, and Sabu was notorious in ECW and around the world as being kind of a wrestler that kind of goes all over the place. He's fun. He does extreme stuff, and you can kind of see like the continuation of the original Sheik style. The original Sheik was entered into the WWE Hall of Fame a couple years ago, and Sabu was one of the people to be there with him with Rob Van Dam, and that style of professional wrestling was the precursor for a lot of what ECW went on to be. Mm-hmm. So Detroit big time wrestling was a very big influence on that ECW style.
Gotcha.
So, Tolbert, with that being said, I know we've had some fun times together with the past two. I want to know what your HIGHKu is.
Ooh, my
your
HIGHKu.
HIGHKu for Terry Funk versus the original Sheik.
Yeah, so after this match, I proceeded.
You prayed? You laid hands?
Yeah. I just watched a bunch of Terry Funk stuff. It was awesome. Spent the rest of the afternoon just watching Terry Funk matches. So with HIGHKu for this week, I had trouble with this. This is tough because Terry Funk is a complicated, deep man. He's a man of many talents. More than just wrestling. Look him up. Yeah, if you're bored, just say, hey, I want to learn a little bit about one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Just look up Terry Funk. Anyway.
He is, though. He is. He was an NWA heavyweight champion in the 70s.
His pile drivers alone, dude, are just...
All right, I'm sorry. Jesus. I'm the greenhorn. I don't know.
I will send you a Terry Funk match in the next couple of weeks.
Educate yourself, Mike. Educate
Check
yourself.
myself.
HIGHKu.
Hey, Funk, watch that chair. Mr. Funk, don't bleed on my blunt. Damn it, Terry Y.
I think damn it, Terry Y surmises everything.
Yeah. Damn it, Terry Y.
Every match I've watched, you will say that out loud. You're like, damn it, Terry Y. No, Terry. No, why, Terry?
Early 2000s, Terry is still doing moonsaults off of ladders and stuff.
That's actually how he ends this match. I was going to say, my match, it ends, Sabu jumps into the ring to beat up on Terry because Sheik takes the count out. And that's the only time any wrestling goes on. And this is why Terry's so great. He goes from this hardcore stuff and just like flips the switch. And then he goes into wrestling and finishes off Sabu with a couple punches and backflip off the top turnbuckle. His signature top rope move. He likes that. What's it called?
Moonsault. Oh, it was a moonsault.
Moonsault. Okay.
Yeah.
He finishes with a moonsault
And
at like 60 years old.
He was probably in his late 40s, maybe early 50s at this point. He's
him
a little
credit.
younger at this point, and still, though, he had been in the business forever. In the 70s, it's pretty interesting, and Terry Funk's style in the 70s, very wrestling-based, very professional wrestling-based, but he was always seen as a tough dude, like a hard-ass son of a gun. Like, he was always seen as that. He had a run with his brother, Dory Funk Jr., and they were very technical-based professional wrestlers.
Fun note, if I'm not mistaken, Funk is his actual last name.
Yeah.
That's his name, is Terrence Funk. This
It looks
old
amazing.
Guy is
It looks
getting
great.
Stabbed
He's gonna
with
bleed to
barbed
death.
wire and
And a fork.
Damn it, Terry
like
Y.
if a non-wrestling fan watched some of this, especially this match, they'd probably turn it off like 2 minutes in, like,
Yeah.
no, what the
But
hell?
you gotta appreciate it.
Yeah, and it took me a while to get into the hardcore stuff because I just didn't like it. I was never into ECW. I saved that for the Juggalo kids at school.
And
the
there
weird
is
kids.
a distinct...
And the backyard wrestling kids, too.
Yeah.
We had some of those guys at our
We had a
school.
bunch of those, too.
Yeah.
But there is a very fine line between hardcore, which I something like what I showed you had psychology behind it. There's a story being told. There's a fine line between that and something where it's just hardcore for hardcore's sake.
Yeah.
So I think that I appreciate something like that. What I showed you, there is a story behind it. It is wild to watch. It's an 8-minute sprint of just shit happening in front of your eyes. as opposed to two high school kids whose balls just dropped and they're hitting each other with barbed wire. You know,
bulbs,
and light bulbs. There's a difference between those two things,
Yeah.
and it's a very fine line. And it's also one group of guys have professional training, and another group of guys shouldn't be trying this at home. CTE.
Don't try this at home, kids.
That's it for this week's episode of $2 Steak. Thank you for listening. Boys, next week we've got a very different style as well. We are going to have Big Mike. You are going to have Ric Flair versus Randy Savage WrestleMania 8. That was suggested to us by Travis Thornton. Thank you. Also from Travis, because he's the man that provides all the beautiful art that we have on all of our social media.
Looks awesome.
Cookie, you have got... I'm sorry, I had to do it again. I watched it. I was inspired by Dark Side of the Ring. You have Bruiser Brody against Terry Funk.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Terry.
Tolbert in my favorite match of the week. Dusty Rhodes versus Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
This is going to be fun.
From Georgia Championship Wrestling. Folks, this is going to be a very interesting wrestling episode. It's a little bit different than this week's episode. So, find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram. Please, for the love of God, follow us on Twitter so Mike doesn't have to bitch about only having 3 followers.
We have 5. It's at $2 steak_.
At, what is it, number 2?
Number 2, $1 steak_. Please follow us.
Please. He's like...
I'm tweeting to no one right now.
Every person that we don't get, that razor gets closer to his wrist. You know, he is on suicide watch.
He's going to start cutting his forehead.
Oh, God, why, Michael, why?
Damn it, Mike, why?
Forever.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.